Hello and thank you for joining me today on The Political Conversationalist. My name is Ben Phipps and it's Friday, so we're doing another brief update video on, I picked 3 stories today that I believe are somewhat at least impactful in political events going on. One's more amusing than it is impactful. But anyway, we do have 3 big stories. One really big story, then there was a shooting, and then a funnier story. So let's go ahead and crack on with those. Firstly, Brett Kavanaugh, Supreme Court Justice nominee, nominated by Donald Trump earlier this year, has just been accused of sexual assault. Now, it wasn't until well into the hearing that he was accused of sexual assault, and he wasn't accused of a recent sexual assault. He was accused of sexual assault when he was 17, and if I remember correctly and I've done my maths correctly, it's 36 years ago. The woman has since come forth. She originally wanted to remain anonymous. She has since come forth as Christine Blasey Ford, I believe, and she's a professor, a college professor, and the story so goes that she was at a party, and Brett was very drunk at the time, and he ended up drunkenly groping her and holding her down and trying clumsily to remove her clothing. That's her side of the story. Of course, Brett Kavanaugh categorically and unequivocally denies any and all allegations, and does not admit to doing any of this. He doesn't even think he went to the party she mentions, and there has been a lot of controversy surrounding this. It's very convenient timing, regardless of the validity of the accusations, whether she be telling the truth or not. It's very convenient timing for a certain political group. I would say it's extremely convenient timing if you are of the group and of the notion that Brett Kavanaugh should not be a Supreme Court justice. That's not to say it's made up, but it is very difficult to prove or to disprove anything that happened 36 or 37 years ago. And I'm going to talk about the court of public opinion and defenseless claims in a later, more philosophical video. But this is an example of what I would call a switch around of the burden of proof. When a woman accuses a man of sexual assault or rape or something like that, the burden of proof is not on the state or the woman or the police or detectives or anyone to prove that the man is guilty. The burden of proof is normally then placed on the man to prove that he is innocent. And since it was 36 years ago, I can't imagine that he can honestly prove and remember where he was what day. Now, here's something else. She hasn't come out and said what day it was. She didn't know when where the party was, and the story has changed from time to time. You can read the article I linked. According to her in 2012, in an interview with her therapist, she said that there were 4 men. When she came forth and said that one of them was Brett Kavanaugh, she only mentioned 2 men. So, not to say that she is lying, but there are some inconsistencies with her story. And also, let's not forget just how convenient the timing is. Anyway, we'll move on from that subject. There was a shooting, technically a mass shooting, in Maryland, near Baltimore, which, I mean, Maryland's pretty small, so it's kind of all near Baltimore by our standards out here in the country in North Carolina. There was a shooting at a Rite Aid pharmacy distribution center. Apparently a temporary worker shot 7 co-workers and herself, ended up killing 3 of her co-workers and then killing herself. This is notable because very rarely do you see a female committing any kind of violent act, especially with firearms. Those tend to be very, very polarized towards male perpetrators. Here's something else interesting I found, and this is mentioned in the article. The woman's claims to be transgender. However, it's not shown, or it's not sure yet, rather, if it is a man who has transitioned into a woman, which could explain that it's not so different after all for that person to have committed a shooting, or if it was a woman who identified as a man. It has not been officially determined as of yet, but anyway, regardless, it is a high-profile story. The firearm used was a Glock 9mm handgun. My father has one. They're very popular handguns, very good handguns, and maybe we'll see some other pushes for legislation when more shootings like this happen. In the Florida shooting we talked about at the Madden football tournament, those were handguns used. The Virginia Tech shooting was handguns. In fact, if you go through and look at the statistics, which I have not as of yet, but I have glanced through some things, most mass shootings are committed with handguns. So maybe we can get off the kick of banning assault rifles or 30-round magazines and look into maybe increasing the process for getting a handgun, since those actually are statistically more likely to be involved in crime than rifles and or shotguns. Regardless, maybe the gun control debate will fall into a little more common sense, and I'll of course keep all the people up there in your thoughts and prayers. Now the last one, this is the funny story, kind of our little palate cleanser for today. Donald Trump, over the summer, reportedly, according to Spain's foreign minister, told Spain that the secret, I guess would be the way to put it, to solving their migrant crisis of African migrants coming up through North Africa and jumping the little bit of Mediterranean Sea in between that and Spain, is to build a wall across the Sahara Desert. Reportedly, the Sahara can't be as long as our border with Mexico. It is. But it's unclear exactly what he meant about that. There are actually, and I wrote these down so I wouldn't forget them, 2 small enclaves, which I would assume are like cities or towns. Every single website uses the word enclave. But there are 2 small enclaves or settlements of Spain in northern Africa. And one is called Melilla, and the other is either Ceuta or Ceuta. And of course, many North African or migrants coming through North Africa, rather, make it to one of those areas and then try to go from there to Spain. So he could have been talking about a wall just around those settlements or cities, or he could have been talking about a wall across the entire Sahara. Regardless, his love of walls has been proven time and time again. In fact, in a upcoming video on in our Divisive Issues series, we're going to discuss the wall. We're also going to discuss immigration, and I think you'll find both of those very interesting. I appreciate you joining me today. I apologize if it's a little dark, and it is a little bit later at night than I normally film these. I normally film these during the day. It's about 1:30 in the morning, so technically it is Friday. This will post at 4 p.m. But I do appreciate you joining me very much. Leave a like and a comment if you have any questions below. You can also, if you have a more in-depth question or a longer question, or you'd like to submit a video idea to me, the best way to do that is to follow the link in the description through to my Facebook page, and from there you can click a button that says email me, and I will respond confidentially and as quickly as possible to any and all emails you send me. Again, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.